My name is Athanassios Tsikliras. I will present the Ecocentric Management for Sustainable Fisheries and Healthy Marine Ecosystem. It's a European project that, and the presentation was prepared along with the new students that will work on this project and the former one who just left for a postdoc. It all started in Perth 2 years ago during the annual FishBase Symposium and meeting, when we realized that FishBase needed to attract some grant money from European projects. At the same time, we were very lucky because there was a new call for proposals on ecosystem-based fisheries management. So we joined forces with the 3 circles our lab is involved with, and other people that are related to FishBase, or Daniel, or Rainer, or Jos. And by that time, Donna, the last author of this presentation, had just presented her PhD thesis on the very same subject of the proposal. So we submitted and managed to secure this grant among 15 proposals that were evaluated at 2 stages. In the first one that was submitted in January, 5 proposals made it to the second stage, and then finally 2 EcoScope and SeaLifeBase, which is led by DTU, were successful. Within EcoScope, there are 24 partners from 17 countries, 14 are European. It's quite rare to have a partner from Canada that will receive grant money, but our justification was really good with Denk and Daniel, so we managed to do that. And Aquatics from the Philippines is also a partner. Mainly the partners are academic and research. There are also some SMEs related, working on research, and 3 NGOs. We also have 5 advisory board members from all continents, almost all continents of the world. Now, the main idea and scope of this project and proposal was to design and develop a holistic ecosystem-based approach to fisheries management that will be based on a platform that will combine all available information, which is scattered and in not a common format, to standardize it, and a toolbox that will provide fishery managers with tools to help their work. These 2 pyramids are met in EcoScope project. The one is the science and the other is the society. And the final project results are shown there. The project is structured in 10 work packages. The 6 very scientific ones of which are clustered, are grouped in 3 clusters, cluster A, B, and C. Cluster A will be applied to the entire European seas and is dealing with bottom-up and top-down forcing to ecosystems. Cluster B is mainly related to quantification, assessment, and management. It will test scenarios and assess all ecosystem components. Cluster C is the interaction with society, the involvement of stakeholders, and the assessing of societal expectations and economic values. And the remaining ones are run in parallel, are the management and the dissemination visibility. One new item we are asked to include in European proposals is what will happen after the end of the funding phase of each project. So we need to include a business plan. Now, the project is structured in space and time, with the cluster almost coinciding. The spatial resolution of cluster A will cover all European seas, and we will produce multi-layer maps. These maps exist in various portals, but they are not homogenized, and they cannot be used easily to check, to examine ecological hypotheses. So we will provide them for free in a common type and format. In-depth assessments and modeling will be done in 8 ecosystems in European seas, where we will assess, using the methodology developed by Rainer Freuze and the CMSY group. We will use several indicators and test the ecosystem scenarios using EcoPath with EcoSim under deep uncertainty. In work package 2, we aim to identify knowledge gaps that are necessary for developing ecosystem models and ecosystem-based fisheries management. So within that, we attempt to fill a priori known gaps. We will use the baited cameras. It will be the first spot in the Med where the browse Jessica was talking about this morning will be used. Also tagging experiments for elasmobranchs in the Western Med and alien species in the hotspot of their distribution. Socioeconomics will be studied through in the Black Sea, the Med, and the Baltic. A smartphone application will be developed in areas where the policy enforcement is very low, which is basically the entire Med. And the central stakeholder workshop will be held in Brussels. On top of that, at the end of the project, we will use this marine spatial simulation platform, which includes all maps enforcing to ecosystem, all activities, and ecosystem models at the same time, and tests scenarios which are not very deep in science, but they are the ideal way to show to stakeholders like ministers and fisheries managers, so they can perceive what would be the impact of their decision. Finally, in the time scale of this also is structured in 3 clusters. The first one has to do with big data collection, the analysis of this big data, and the decision making. And finally, the 4 products of the process. So we have 4 distinct phases. I already told you about the identification of gaps. The big data will be used to examine bottom-up and top-down forcing to ecosystems. Analytics will be basically used in work packages 5 and 6, which is the assessment and the modeling. And the interaction with society and economy will be used to provide feedback to our tools and ecosystem management scenarios. This is what we usually put in these proposals. It shows, you don't need to go through that, but it just shows how the work packages interact with each other and how feedback is gained. One extra work package, again, we have to include, that is the ethical requirements, especially when animals are handled in and the GDPR issues. Finally, I will show a few examples of the data sets we are going to use as input. You see there are many data sets, most of which are freely available, but rarely in the same format and resolution. So we will combine all these. We have done so with some of them in a previous European project that is about to finish in November. And we will also use all recent developments and software and models, such as ecological risk models, ecosystem overfishing indicators, energy-scape models, risk assessment for charismatic metafauna, our CMSY, AMSY, and LBB approach, and the very well-known to all EcoPath with EcoSim and EcoSpace model, to end up with these 4 products. The one is the platform that will allow ecosystem function and interrelation and hypothesis testing at a large spatial scale. The toolbox that will be a scoring system that will get feedback from assessments, socio and economic data, and will provide the manager with a tool to make decisions. The Academy, the EcoScope Academy, which will be a series of courses, webinars, and serious games, as they call, that will be used to build capacity and inform stakeholders. And finally, the EcoScope app, which is what they also, it's very common to use now, the involvement of citizens to science. A big thank you to Daniel and Rainer for their continuous support to our group, to Dan, Connie, Nina, Man, and Josh for their help and discussions during the early stages and development of the project, and to Donna, who is now a PhD, a postdoc in the US, for her efforts that will allow our small group to grow and to provide for new students to follow her international career. Thank you very much.